I decide. I decide. And one more time, beautifully activational with it. I decide. Mm, delicious. How beautiful it is to remind yourself that you create your own reality. Right? And so today, what I'm bringing to you at 11 a.m. this morning, 11:07, oh sure, 11:07, in this moment, right, is the recognition of your divine alignment. And so this topic I call living from the heart is essentially a reminder of how to live in your natural state of being. So everyone that's having the human experience, everyone that is expressing a form of your creativity in physical form, right, your natural state is mastery, right? Your natural state is infinite, divine, empowered, connected, and whole. And when you recognize the truth of that, that becomes your reference point of your life. And our choice to be able to function and live from both the activation and the guidance of our heart center is always a decision to live more in alignment with our natural state of being. So your physical mind is something that we created to be able to have a physical experience. Right? Our ability to function as a psychological framework of personalities, right, expressed in some kind of amalgamation of physical form presents, hi, I'm Kevin, right? I have an identity of myself in physical expression. In order for me to navigate that, with me being so infinite in my natural state, right, I create a filter to then navigate one aspect of myself through this experience so I can actually see each of you as a physical being. Right? Then I can shift beyond that and see who you are beyond that. And that's something that we all possess the ability to do. The more that we're living from this space, right, is more of us functioning from that natural state, from that intuitive capacity that is always in fluid alignment with everything. Our ability to live in the harmony of masculine and feminine energy resides in our ability to live from the heart. Our ability to live in the fluidity of our progressive life is our ability to live in the heart. Knowing when to make decisions and move, when to make decisions and rest, when to take command, when to surrender to flow. All of that takes place within our heart center, which is very, very specific. So I want to give you a couple of distinctions, first and foremost in this moment, so that we can kind of clear up any distortion about the heart and the mind. All right? First moment of distinction and clarity. Your heart is never confused, and it always knows exactly what it wants. Your heart is never confused, and it always knows exactly what it wants. Let's say this all together. My heart is never confused, and it always knows exactly what it wants. Okay? Your heart is very specific. And what it's specific about, what it's clear about, is every decision that you can make that surges your narrative forward. Because all consciousness cares about is being its fullest expression. And every single decision you make from your heart is a decision made to live in your fullest expression. Right? That's why vulnerability is the source of our greatest strength. Because vulnerability is your ability to live from your open, honest expression of self. And every time you truly allow yourself to speak openly from the heart, you are always expressing your most honest expression in that moment. Okay? Those clarities, that specificity within your heart is always a constant. If that's the case with your heart, where do you think confusion or doubt or inconsistency takes place? In the mind. Exactly. In the mind, right? Now, the mind doesn't purposely want to confuse you. The mind doesn't have an agenda against you, right? Your mind is how you're navigating, exploring this game of limitation that is the physical universe. Which means your mind is just a child, right? Your ego is just a child. It isn't an enemy. It isn't an opposing force. It doesn't want to sabotage your existence. Its whole goal in life isn't to see you miserable, right? It just knows what it knows. So your mind goes, cool, based on these experiences, this stuff makes sense. This is where our safe place is, and I got your back. Right? So every time that you're like, you know what, I've been doing this and this is cool, right? So this is where I'm familiar, this is my comfort zone. But I would like to do this now beyond my comfort zone, right? Now your heart says, yes, let's do that. That right there, that excites me, I'm inspired, I'm down, right? And then your mind goes, what? Wait a minute, you said this was our comfort zone. You know what? Don't even worry about it. You're just losing your shit. I got your back. Don't do that. Remember, we gotta do that thing. But what if people judge you? What else can I do? I gotta save you. You know, our favorite show is on Netflix. Let's go watch that. You know, we could just read a book right now. It's fine. You know, you love reading. It's good. You know, let's go take a walk in the park. Let's just do that. Let's do that instead. Right? Your mind literally is like, I have to keep you safe any way possible, based on what you said was safe. So anytime in your life you felt like doing something really like expanding, that you were like, I really want to go for this, and for a split second you hesitated or second guessed yourself, your mind was like, noted, that shit's scary, I got your back. We won't be doing that. Right? And that's where everyone says, you know, I got this, the gremlins in my mind, or all the negative self-talk and all that stuff. It isn't anything in there that's against you. Everything in life, and what you're going to discover as we go further with this talk about the heart, everything in life and existence is literally in support of you, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. There's no exception to that rule. So the mind always thinks it's supporting you, which it does, based on who you believe yourself to be. So if I choose to be insignificant Kevin, right? And I identify that in my mind, Kevin, unworthy of love, right? And if this resonates with anyone, go ahead and just put your hand to your heart for a second. I'm so unworthy of love. Oh man, I made so many mistakes. I'm such a failure sometimes. I sabotage myself. What's so wrong with me? Man, I just keep messing up, right? All those identities, your mind just stores that in. It's like, cool, so this is how we function? I got you. So anytime abundance comes up, anytime love comes up, don't worry, I'm going to steer you clear away from that. Because I got to keep us honest, right? I got to keep us in our identity, so I got you. Because anything beyond the identity's capacity of itself doesn't make sense. It's scary. Because go back to the truth of your existence. If your natural state is infinite, your natural state is empowered, your natural state is connected, your natural state is whole, and you were in that identity, all you would ever do is be open to love, experience abundance, right? Explore greater capacities of you without hesitation. And this is the game of limitation. It's the journey of unconditional love, exploring every possibility of how it returns to itself. And every time you live from your heart, I feel you, I feel you. Every time you live from your heart, you are making decisions that sees you restore your natural state of being. And your job, when you're choosing to be more present, is to mature the mind, right? So the ego is the physical mind. And your job as the observer, as the thing that is more than the story itself, which you are, right? And let's just repeat that a couple more times. I am more than the stories I tell myself. I am more than the stories I tell myself. I am more than the stories I tell myself. I am more than the stories I tell myself. Say that 3 times. Let me. How does that feel when you say that? Right? Feels aligned, like, you know what, somewhere in me that just feels right. Right? Because the truth lives within you and it's uncompromising. Right? And this is how powerful you are. You're powerful enough to be infinite and pretend to be small. How awesome are you? What? You mean I can be this entire thing and in an instant believe myself just to be this? That's creative. That's powerful. That's really powerful. Right? So as consciousness, life is about exploring more of you. It's about going to your edge of exploration, because when you get to that edge, that's the threshold of an identity. You get to the threshold of identity, and you tap into space, you shift through it, you are now expanding into a greater identity of you. And every identity you shift into that's more expansive, you access more of your power, more of your capacity to love, and therefore show up more as the light that you are in your life. And your ego shifts with the expansion. So you are raising your ego to see the world from a broader perspective. And if you aren't doing that, that's your responsibility. But what do we do in place of that with the mind? It's this. I want to make a change in my life, but it's just this thing from my past that I'm fully aware of, but I'm aware of it, but not enough to want to make a different decision. Even though all habit is, when you're aware of it, is choice, right? Or I blame the government, or I blame the weather, or I blame the sun at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's just too hot. I want to sit and write, but my AC isn't working, so who's got time for that? Right? All the things we pass off in the identity when we're believing ourselves to be limited. So when you're living from your heart grabs your physical mind and goes, come here, let me show you something a little different. Look at all this possibility. And your mind's like, I don't know if this is really what we could be, right? Because your mind only knows what you've experienced or what you've shown it to experience, right? So that's how it has to identify. But your heart, because it is in the present, it is access to all the capacity of you, all infinites within the self. So your heart always knows specifically what's the best choice you can make. That's why your heart is where your intuition speaks, and intuition is just A, massive sensory awareness, B, higher guidance from your greater capacity. We call it higher mind, higher self. That's why when we feel that intuition, and we're like, I feel like I want to do this, and then you shift your attention from the heart into your mind, you're like, but I'm just going to do this anyway, right? And then what happens? You ignore your intuition. That nice little reminder, and then what do we say? I knew it! I knew it! I knew that was it! Right? Now, all of this has to do with self-awareness. The more you live from your heart, the more you remember who you truly are. Right? Because in the present moment, are you focused on the past or the future? No. In the present moment, you realize there's no such thing. There's just right now and the story you're choosing to tell. And then you can reference it within the entirety of the self in the present moment that we call past or future, but those are just different point of views happening right now. So in the present moment is your ability to decide. Your power is always in the present moment. Always. Because you always have a choice to make. And then depending on which identity you're being in the physical mind, warrants your choices. You will only choose what you feel benefits you most, whether that's from love or fear. And you will choose the benefit based on the identity. Does that make sense? So if I believe myself to be unworthy of love, and now I'm in a relationship where someone is showing me ultimate love, yet I'm the identity that doesn't believe I'm worthy of it, what's a more beneficial choice to reinforce my identity? Separate it, push it away, do something to jeopardize it, just so I can prove myself right. Oh, you're showing me so much love and showing me I'm more than the story, but I really want to hold on to the story, so you're awful, fuck you. Right? And they're like, what? And if you aren't doing that to sabotage, you're in an identity that has to prove itself right. And this is the game that happens in the mind. Do you think the heart is interested in proving anything right? If you just had to take a wild guess. Anyone? Nope. No, it's uninterested, right? Does anyone disagree? Does anyone feel like, of course the heart wants to be right? Anyone? No? Smart crowd. Right? Here's why. The heart is only interested in you becoming your greatest expression. That means every experience to the heart is a sacred opportunity for greater self-exploration. Right or wrong doesn't apply in your heart. There's nothing to justify in the heart. The heart goes, this choice brings this opportunity for you to face and shift your limitation so you can be this. That's it. The mind goes, how can I keep reinforcing my own narrative all the time? Period. Because if I have a limiting belief of myself, I have to reinforce that belief through my choices, conscious or otherwise. Conscious or otherwise. And take that in for a second. Have you ever told yourself, yo, I really want to do this thing, or I want to stop doing this thing, and then like a moment later you're like, so I'm just going to keep doing this thing? Right? Has everyone been there at one point in your life? Is there anyone who's not lying? Awesome, right? So in that capacity, that choice is because of how you're identifying yourself, and the only thing that's missing is self-awareness. So again, your heart offers your mind greater insight, and your mind, if you allow it to flow with the heart, will adjust. So here's how this game works for everybody. This is your experience with your heart and your mind if you're living from the heart. Your heart goes, all right, we've been doing this in our narrative, now it's time to do that. Let's go. Right, in the moment you're in your heart, you're like, yeah, let's go. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna write this thing, I'm gonna set this schedule, I'm gonna get this workout in, I'm gonna put together this book, I'm gonna go teach this course. All these things is happening in the morning. I feel it, I'm inspired, awesome. And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, yeah, let's do this. And the mind goes, yeah, but it's just too early. You know, and it's too hot. It's too cold. It's raining. We haven't drank our water yet. Right? We got to do something. Just lay here for a minute and gather yourself. Maybe this isn't something we really want to do. Right? And then if you don't remember that feeling from the day before, you're like, you know what, mind, you're right. You always got my back. Let's just take a moment. I'll do it. I can always do it tomorrow. Can always do it tomorrow. Tomorrow. Right? Now what your heart does is when you feel that and you shift in your heart again, you're like, no, I said I'm doing this now, and then you're going to feel what we call discomfort, right? Discomfort is when your mind goes, I don't really want to, it's weird, right? I don't know. And that's what your mind's doing, all while your heart's doing like, it's fine, shh, it's good, we're going to do it, we'll keep doing this, it's fine. All right, we got this. So then once you get to that threshold, right, that means the edge of your identity, that's when your mind kicks into gear because it's going for that last hurrah, right? You're like, I am about to break through into this new version of the me. And the mind's like, no, this is all we are. Remember that time when you were 3 years old and your parent dropped you in the grass and then a spider bit you? It was a horrible thing. Remember that feeling because that's what's going to happen when you do this. Right? Like it goes in for that last hurrah. And it's only doing that because it really, really, really wants to support you. And then you break through it. Right? Then your heart's like, no, it's fine. We got this. And who's had that moment when you finally faced a fear? And how did that feel? Liberating, empowering as fuck, expansive, exciting. Oh my God, there's so much more to my life. I want to do this every day. It's super joyous. Let's go celebrate. Right? All this expansive energy. You access more of your power, which is more of your life force energy. And then what's the other thing that comes? You know what? It actually really wasn't that bad. Those fears were so loud, but it wasn't really that scary. It didn't turn out the way I thought it would. That spider that bit me in 3rd grade didn't come back. Who knew? Right? And this is the game that we're playing with ourselves in every moment. And this is the way that we show up for each other. So all conflict in life is existing between this. Harmony exists naturally when we're living from our heart. Living from your heart, you automatically start to see everything around you as an aspect of yourself. You are automatically more compassionate. You are automatically interested in sharing more of your gifts because you don't feel like you do it because you're obligated. You don't feel like you do it because you have to. And in your heart tells the truth. It isn't interested in saving the world because your heart knows there's nothing to save. Your heart knows that you are experiencing any variation of the world you choose based on the identity you're being. And the more you show up as the light you are, the more you remind the world that they're not in this place that they have to be saved from. that they have the freedom to make a choice that just changes the narrative completely. So when we're living from this access point, that's how we show up. And in that compassion, that's what we recognize. Like, have you ever watched someone play out a pattern and you're like, oh my God, I do that all the time. That's me right there. Right? That's all the time. Every single one of us is always showing every single one of us what we do at some point within our narrative. And all it's doing is offering the opportunity to see that enough to step up as more love. Now think about that concept around the world. If I'm learning how to live from the heart, and remembering that is remembering I'm connected, I'm whole, I'm empowered, right? True empowerment is the ability to live in my open, honest expression of self, to show up in all of me, to explore that. If I feel powerless, and I'm living in that game of searching and seeking significance and safety at all costs, that's when I feel like being powerful is dominating my environment, manipulating other people, taking advantage so I can gain. Yeah, that was awesome. See how I got away with that? Listen, you're gonna do what I tell you to do, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I finally got a handle on this thing. I'm in control, right? Distorted. We are in control of nothing, yet we are in command of everything. When you feel like you have to gain something outside of yourself, that's a reflection of something you don't feel is present. When we listen to our heart, we're guided on how to start tapping into that feeling. And everyone here is familiar with it, right? It starts with me. Be the change you want to see in the world. You will never effectively love someone if you aren't willing to love yourself. You will never receive love to the greatest capacity. You'll only receive love at which you allow yourself to love yourself, right? So as you're navigating that space, that's reality. So if you show me a pattern of myself, and if I'm in my head and I see that pattern, I go, that's a reflection of an aspect of me I don't love or accept, and now I'm angry with you. You're an awful person. Don't be showing me that. I'm going to judge you so I don't have to own up to my own shit. That's what our mind does, because your mind wants to do what? Keep you safe. Your heart goes, oh, that's me. I got to be honest with you, I feel a little bit of anger right now as I'm witnessing you do that and show up this way. So thank you for showing me where I haven't loved myself yet. You are so amazing. I'm going to go handle that, and maybe we can have a different conversation of how we can shift it for you too. Thank you so much. Thank you, anger. I love you so much for communicating that. Thank you for showing me where I was feeling powerless. Thank you for showing me where I was playing out a victim. I love you so much. So what do I want to do now? Live in my empowered conscious creatorhood. So then I show up, hey, thank you for being this beautiful mirror for me. I had to work through this anger a little bit. So now that I've worked through my anger, I can effectively tell you what I really want to say. This isn't the type of friendship I would like to have. I want there to be more consideration. Maybe we can communicate a little bit better. I want to be able to be honest with you about how I feel, that we can talk through it, right? Because I want to support you and see your growth the way you want to support me. And right now you're showing up to show me my limitations, so I want to show you that too. So thank you. Do you want to build that? Does that interest you too? Awesome, right? And then they can agree. They can go, yes, I love that. Let's have this friendship. Or they can say, no, I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't like it. Awesome. Thank you for showing me the type of friendship I'm uninterested in. I love you so much. I'm gonna go this way and create some other friendships because this is where I'm at now. You're so awesome. I love you, and I'm here whenever. Imagine an entire civilization that functions that way. And all that is tapping into emotional efficacy. Your ability to shift your emotional intelligence from immaturity to maturity. All of that happens in the heart. Whenever you're in an argument with somebody, you both are lying. That isn't what either one of you want to say. In that moment in your head when you're afraid, you just want to be right so you can find some measure of power and safety. Your heart is uninterested. If I feel betrayed by you, if I feel disregarded, if I feel unappreciated, in our narrative together, that is an experience I created as an opportunity to show me where I have yet to love myself so I can step further into that capacity. If I'm in my head though, and I feel that feeling, your mind, your perception starts to filter that feeling differently. So your heart's like, dope, you feel this, show that some love, and then say what you really want to say. So what I really want to say is, I gotta be honest, when you say those words to me, it hurts. I feel like something's misaligned. And this isn't the type of relationship I want to have. Or this isn't the way I want to be treated by my boss. I don't want to work in an environment like this. So I want you to know how I feel, because maybe no one ever brought this to your awareness and you're just playing out patterns. Because do you really feel that's the most effective way to talk to people? Right? Like an honest, vulnerable conversation. Rather than, you know what, you're just an a-hole, and I don't understand what you're talking about. My boss is just a mean person. I mean, you don't have to deal with this. All the while missing the point of the feeling that is the only purpose of an experience. So in your heart, you're fully present, right? Feeling clearly, sharing from a space that is seeking harmony and awareness from harmony and awareness. Because remember, your heart doesn't care about being right. It just wants to be accurate. But let me phrase that. It doesn't want to be. It is accurate. It just wants to show you that. Then your mind goes, if you're in your head with it, okay, so this experience is coming up. I don't like this at all. I would prefer something different that feels more resonant with me and this version of me. So what can I do to find that? Avoidance. In what ways do we avoid? Everything. What did you say? Procrastinate. Laziness. Right? We get sleepy. I want to do this work, but I'm so tired. Right? Food. Television. Social media. Right? Things that can all be used progressively, but we'll use them as avoidance if it's something we don't want to deal with or face. Your mind wants to be right all the time. And in order for it to be right, there's no way it can take responsibility. Your heart is uninterested in being right. It just wants to see you be your greatest expression. Which means it knows that your life is completely your responsibility. So where can I address me to make choices that move my life forward from love? Now here's the conflict. Take this in. If living from your heart means you're more present, you're more connected, right? You're more compassionate, you're more deliberate and direct, right? If living from the heart represents all of that, do you see the harmony in life if all of us acted that way? You can see that? If we can show up honest with each other, very direct with our communication, there's no miscommunication. I won't withhold my expression, I won't withhold my love. I won't look to avoid confrontation with you because I won't be interested in running from my pain. I'll be interested in seeing us both grow to be more. I'll look at an experience in life and go, dope, where's this opportunity for us to do something different, as opposed to just sit and complain about it so I can reinforce my victim story. If everyone operates at that capacity, that's the game we're playing. Now, take a look at that concept, and now look what happens when we go in our head. Suddenly, I want to say something to you, but I feel like you might judge me for it, so now I'm just going to take these feelings and suppress them, and suppress them, and suppress them, until I come across the street, and someone bumps into my shoulder, and I unload everything I ever wanted to say to my boss to the person on the street that bumped into my shoulder. Or suddenly I start feeling different ways of like outbursts, and I don't know how to manage it. And so then I just start finding all kinds of reasons to blame for my state and my circumstances. All right? Or I don't think I'm capable of having an impact, or no one cares what I have to say, right? Or how can people love me when I've done this, this, and this in my life? And then you're in a world where everyone's going through the same thing, which means we all show up to show each other where we're at in that story. And then in your mind, you're like, I don't want that. I hate you. And then we create a meme culture on social media that gets us to be super witty with our comedy. So then we can reinforce it on that too. Because you know how reality creation works, right? Whatever you focus on is what becomes most real. So if you start judging your romantic partner when it comes to an end, suddenly you see all the memes that supports your state. He ain't shit anyway. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's how I feel. She ain't a good woman. She didn't care about you in the first place. Oh, I'm not alone. Of course there's people like that. See, she just wasn't a good woman. See, he just wasn't a good man. It has nothing to do with either. They're going through their stuff, not knowing how to love themselves enough to show up present in the relationship. Same with you. But as long as I can point the finger at you, I get to stay in my identity. And then I play it out with someone else, and then I'm like, it's with you too? What's wrong with the world? There's no good men out here. All these South Florida women are all the same. No. Right? Your mind starts finding ways to reinforce its narrative. And then at some point, because here's what's dope about the structure of existence, right? Take this in. This is the secret. This is the secret. I don't share this with just everybody. Limitation has a limit. Talk's over. Go home. Limitation has a limit. You know what's waiting for you on the other side of limitation? What would you say it is? Huh? Growth. True.
Accomplishment.
Let me ask this question. What do you think the most sustainable force of existence is? It's a 4-letter word. Love. Love. Hey. Love. That's literally what's waiting for you on the edge of your limitation. Remember, this whole game is about you remembering how to love at a greater capacity. So every limitation you're experiencing is just where you're holding yourself back from being your greatest expression of love. And now because limitation has a limit, that means you can take your life to an intense-ass degree of distortion. And at some point, love is still going to be like, knock that shit off. You're fine. Come on, bring it in, I got you. Right? And those moments, you know when that happens? When we surrender. Remember, it's your natural state. That means your pathway to divinity, your pathway to love, your pathway to your fullest expression is surrender. And if we tell a story or a belief that anything worth having doesn't come easy, or that I gotta pour my blood, sweat, and tears into anything I do to accomplish because it's hard work and it's difficult to change, because that somehow is where I link up significance, then that's what you create. Your journey must be suffering to grow. Another distortion to clear up. Suffering is unnecessary for growth. Suffering is unnecessary for your growth. Yet you are free to suffer all you want. The difference between suffering and pain. Pain is a communication of misalignment. Pain simply shows you where you are out of alignment with your natural state of being. If you just listen to that moment and surrender to it, oh man, something feels off about this. Thank you, pain. I will take this information and make an adjustment, right? Now let's take that on a physical context for a minute. You put your hand on a hot stove, right? Remembering that everything's just energy. So if you are this beautiful expression of creativity, right? You have a form. Your form is the music of you. If anything disrupts that music, that symphony, like scarring, injuring, something like that, you get a signal of energy that something's out of alignment. Hand on hot stove. All the energy that is communicating as being your hand goes, something is off about our song and we're disrupting it. I don't know what this is. And then that sends a signal to your brain like something is off about our musical expression. What are we doing? Right? And then that translates through consciousness to the story. My hand is on a hot stove and it's burning. Take your hand off the stove. Instant. Who puts their hand on a hot stove and goes, I just feel like I have to deal with this because I'm an awful person. If I just sit here long enough, maybe I'll burn through my flesh and I'll burn through my existence and I can just be the love I always wanted to be if I could just suffer this a little bit longer. Who's ever done that in relationships? Who's ever done that with your family? Who's ever done that with your job? Friendships? Right? It's the same exact thing. Physically, it makes sense. Take your hand off the stove, and maybe you'll just be okay. Same thing. Maybe just feel your emotions, and they'll just pass on through, giving you the information necessary to make more choices in your life. Suffering is when you get the message, and you just hold on to it. Pain, 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 pain. My life is just pain. It's awful. But this is spiritual growth. Spirituality suggests I must suffer in order to burn away all my karma because I'm an awful person, because I'm somehow less than my divine expression in physical existence. Suffering. It's a choice. Pain is necessary because pain is communication. Suffering is a choice because you think it's what you deserve. Remember, you will choose what reinforces your identity. Your heart is always going to remind you you're more than your identity, so you have the freedom to first love the identity you're playing out and then choose another one. Notice the harmony in that. Okay, this is where I'm playing small and limited. This is where I'm afraid. This is where I'm not expressing myself honestly with you. This is where I'm holding back from stepping forward with something I really feel inspired to do. Okay, so let me take a moment. I love you. Thank you for showing up for me. I get it. So who do I want to ask myself to be now? Because I am more than the stories I tell myself. If I'm more than the story, that means I'm not confined to the story. That means I'm not obligated to the story. And what's dope is all of you have already experienced that. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be sitting here. Every single one of you has shifted stories before. So you already know you can do it. Has anyone ever felt emotions to a degree of distortion that you're like, it's so overwhelming, I can't take it? We'll all just lie to ourselves. Of course you can take it because you're sitting here. You win. Your emotions didn't poof you out of existence. Victory! Hey! All these little glimpses of your life show you the truth about yourself. But if you're in an identity, you're going to work hard to avoid it. Right? So the conflict is being able to shift out of here and feel this. And so what we're going to navigate is getting heart conscious for a minute, and I'm going to have you do a couple activational things so you can feel into a greater state if you're game for it. Okay, to bring it back to the truth in you. In the present moment is when you access your heart, your power, your ability to be a greater expression. So in the present moment is when you access clarity and you make decisive choices through feeling. And then you use the mind to uncover the ways that you process it. Because if you're acting from your heart, you're acting from a more expansive identity. And that identity thinks differently, chooses differently, focuses on different things. Limited identity shows you all the ways that this won't work. All the ways you're not good enough. All the ways it's just better to hide. Because that's all it knows, that's what it focuses on. When you're in that heart space and it opens up, suddenly you're looking at all the possibilities. Suddenly I'm capable of achieving more. Oh, you know what? I just remembered I had that person on my phone and they're connected to that thing. I'm going to call them right now. But if you're in an identity that's limited, the response will be like, oh, what's that person's name? I know I have their number, but I don't remember. See, I'm so forgetful. God, I'm so stupid. Does that sound familiar? Right? I feel you. It's familiar to me. Legit. Right? So it's something you already do. And all awareness does is allow you to recognize it, to do it from a different capacity. The ability to do it from a more expansive state. That's what courage is, right? Your ability to tell your story from your open heart. That's what vulnerability is. Your ability to be your open, honest expression of self. You do that, you access all the capacity of you. You're only going to start looking at how can I, not here's all the reasons why not. You'll start going for it. It is more important for me to take a chance on my life than to hide from it. That's when you're in the capacity of, I have no idea what's going to happen, but damn it, this feels inspiring and I'm going for it anyway. And if it doesn't work out the way I initially intended, that's okay. What's the sacred opportunity in this experience for me to take that information and make another decision from my heart to step into another capacity of me? The mind will adjust to you. That's all it does. Your body, your physical mind just listens. What are we going to do today? Just like this. I don't know why this is its position, but it's just what it does. What are we going to do today? Right? And then you wake up. Today's a beautiful day. It's amazing. I'm going to go out and connect with some friends. We're going to go have lunch. We're going to go out to this festival and rock it out. And then your mind and body goes, dope, today's going to be an exciting day. We're activated. Yes. Or you wake up and you're like, oh, today is awful. I have a headache and now I have to go do this thing. And your mind and body goes, oh, today's awful. We have to wake up and do this thing. Right? Your body doesn't create anything. It just listens. Who are we being today? Empowered Kevin. Okay, cool, let's be empowered Kevin. Who are we being today? Insignificant Kevin. Okay, cool, let's be insignificant Kevin. Wherever you want. Just like the universe, right? The universe doesn't have an agenda for you. It just listens. Its only purpose is to show you what you're doing so you can remember who you truly are. That's literally the purpose. I am so abundant. The universe is like, yeah, you are. Right? Oh, my life is awful and I lack everything. The universe is like, yeah, it does. That's the game we're playing. So in this moment, let's take a moment to get into that heart space and really own into this capacity, right? So we're going to do this in two ways. The first one, we're going to go through a process of getting heart conscious. Then after that, we're going to have a moment where you get into the body a little bit and feel that presence of self beyond the mind, okay? So the way that we get into getting heart conscious is through something I call the conversion breath. And the conversion breath is a deep inhale through the nose, and you're breathing into the belly, into the fullness of your diaphragm, right? So when you breathe in nice and full, and you expand your body up. Once this is full, you keep expanding upward, like that. When you exhale, you're going to exhale similar to the Ujjayi breath. You're going to exhale so where the top of the throat meets the back of the nasal passage, and you're going to open the mouth and sigh it out in a high sigh, like a... And when you do that, let everything go. When you sigh that out, slow and steady, let all the muscles in the face go, let the whole body go, let it all just sink. And then once you exhale it all the way out, sit for a moment in that stillness between the pulse. Sit in that space between the breath and feel what it feels like to live beyond the pulse. That source point. And then when you feel inspired, breathe again, which you will. I have no doubt that you will breathe again. Take another deep inhale in, full breath, building it up. And then sighing out again. And let yourself fade. Let's do that 4 more times. Deep inhale in. Let it all fade out. The only thing working on the exhale would be your diaphragm. Let everything else go. Open your mouth and just let it fade out. And breathe in again. And once more. Deep inhale in. And as you fade out on this exhale, take a moment to now just observe the space you're in. Notice the surface that you're sitting on. Notice the clothes on your body. Notice the air all around the body. Notice everything that you hear. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your lungs expand and contract. Notice everything that you see, all the colors, all the textures, all the shapes. Simply allowing yourself to observe this moment as it is. This space of observation is a state of heart consciousness. Heart consciousness is entering present moment awareness from a multidimensional capacity of you. That means that you are being the observer while literally harnessing the attention of an identity. Complete access to the self in every capacity of you. You'll know when you're there, when you're beyond thought, beyond emotion, and beyond identity in presence. Full presence. You do this enough, it is a choice away. follow that breath, and every time you get there, you sustain it, it literally becomes a choice. Oh, I'm in my head in this identity. Let me get heart conscious. And you're there. And now I can still speak from heart consciousness. I can listen from heart consciousness. I can feel from heart consciousness, yet I'm the observer beyond it with no emotional attachment to anything. It's just clarity. So then when I speak, it's from my open heart. I don't have to think about what I'm going to say. I just express it how it comes because I'm trusting in the connectivity of my own existence. You can move in heart consciousness. You can take a shower in heart consciousness. You can eat in heart consciousness. It doesn't take away from anything. It only enhances presence of higher self embodied. From that clarity, the process of transformation for anyone can accelerate instantaneously. Because being heart conscious is being beyond identity. Which means that if you know the identity you're asking yourself to be, and you've already done the practice of visualizing it, getting specific about how he or she looks, how she thinks, how she speaks, how she breathes, how she steps, how she walks into a room, then when you're heart conscious, you already know where you're going to shift your attention. If you don't practice visualizing who you're asking yourself to be, you aren't channeling your creative energy in any direction, which means you're just going to go back to doing what you know until you give it a reason to do something different. Does that make sense? This is your power in every moment, your ability to choose. So let's see what that feels like when we step into the body with it. So if you feel inspired, please stand up with me for a minute. And actually, I think I'm going to come down there with you guys for this one. All right. So let's circle up real quick, if you will. Let's get in a big circle so you can see all your beautiful reflections in this moment. And let's see what happens with this microphone. We'll roam. Hey. Look at all these awesome beings. All right. So take a moment and just feel your feet on the earth, right? You can feel it through the shoes if you want, if you're that dope with your sensory awareness already. Or we can just get nice and intimate with it, right? I like the intimate of the grass between my toes. Right, so you feel your presence on the earth, right? Feel the wind flowing through you. And as you're standing here listening, just keep taking full, deep breaths. Full capacity of breath to really harness more of your energy. Good, and as you're here, just start bouncing a little bit. All right, just get the body moving a little bit, giving your body some. You can shake it up. All right, I'm gonna put the mic down for a second so you can hear me out.
You guys still hear me?
Yes.
All right, shake it up a little bit. All right, get everything involved, loosen up the body, feel yourself moving. Notice while you're doing this, if anything feels stiff or you're holding back anything, look at where your attention's at. If you find your mind going, this is stupid, I'm not gonna do that, right? You know what identity that is. Right? If you find yourself moving certain parts of the body because something else is stiff, that's also where you're holding on to limitation. Just let yourself loosen it up a little bit, shake it up. You get high with it, low with it, just loosen it all up. Get in the body, free flowing. Right? Shake it all up, then activate your voice with a little bit, so. Take it back to your childhood, right? When you're children, you didn't care about anything, right? You go to the playground, it's right? Allow yourself just to go there for a minute. The beautiful representation of presence. So just activate that voice together. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Good. And then stop. Close your eyes and feel what you feel right now. Feel that energy that's just activated. What does that feel like? Throw out some words.
Power.
Yes. Imagine if this was your natural state. Because it is. When you identify yourself in physical form, like, well, sometimes I have energy, sometimes I'm tired. Even though I'm made from the inexhaustible life force energy of source consciousness, I'm just really tired. Right? That's an identity. In an instant when you get present, you access the greater capacity of you. And it's literally a choice away. What ingrains your identity is your choice to make it a familiar feeling. So what if every day of your life started off just like this for 5 minutes every day? Your body's listening. Suddenly your body says, cool, so this is just the level of energy we activate all the time? Yeah. So imagine walking around every day of your life like that. That is exactly what people do who live in their greatest expression in the world. People that achieve and are also fulfilled. People that really do what they feel inspired to do. That's how they function. That's how you function every time you're doing something that you really love doing. Who's done what they loved and felt more energized after? Truth. Right? That isn't a mistake. That isn't a coincidence. That's truth. That's truth. That means that your ability to be tired or rocking is completely up to you. And just a moment of activating, that was literally 2 minutes, and you were feeling those states. So in this moment, as you feel that, speak these out. We're going to activate for 30 seconds, right? And then we're going to stop and feel it, and we're just going to go 10 times. We're almost there. Keep it going. If your mind doesn't tell you to stop, you tell your mind, we don't stop, mind. We don't stop. All right, here we go. And stop where you are. 3, 2, 1.
I decide! 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 I decide!
One more time.
I decide!